Good afternoon, Abbotsford residents. I'm Mr. Pelican. I'm running for your Commander-in-Chief, and I'm encouraging other people to do the same. We got to change out the guard. For my community and what I saw, thanks to Henry's son and the help of the Mission RCMP and former politicians on the criminal ring of organized crime at the Abbotsford Police. Veteran officers, investigating officers that thought the uniform, the badge, and I got a gun, and I got a friend, will clean it. The community police was in organized, elite, high crime. We can't look away from it. The attack on South Asian Councillor Mogill by the task force was one of the dirtiest, filthiest things I ever seen in my life, and it does, nobody should apologize or look away, but call the Abbotsford police a piece of shit for doing that. That was being rigged, and that was an attack. As the RCMP said, call it out. The attack on my neighbor, calling her out because Henry didn't get his way. Henry Brown went into the city of Abbotsford to enrich and aid himself, bring lifts to him and his friends, and own this community as a mob. He had two important people beside him. The MP, Ed Fast of the Federal Conservatives, and Mike de Jong, the MLA of the BC Liberals. He believing that he could hold this in the town, and anybody who went to them, he would then get the call from Mike or Ed, and he could tip off the Abbotsford police. Henry loaded the police, he loaded the police board, and he had counsel in his house. I'm down on Sage's property, and I want to begin something today. Everybody knows that the dirty thing that Sage did, changing the zoning, was unfair to all developers. That I can tell you from the experience. I told you I worked for Wall, Aquilini, Stuart Olson, Amacon, and everybody. It was rigged because Henry was doing it, so Henry got direct perks. Not only that, it had bylaw and everybody looking away from it. When I become Commander-in-Chief, I will give Ron Funk $1 so he doesn't create any more debt. I'll take that and we'll create low-income housing and senior care home for Abbotsford residents and lift the burden off the provincial government so it doesn't got to build housing into Abbotsford. If not, I will proceed around the provincial government at the federal level for the extorting ring of frauding Abbotsford taxpayers. They were using it as an ATM. Abbotsford is 40% South Asians, and we don't see them in their city, and we don't see them under police. They were purposely being blocked by this establishment. The attack on Suk Mengel, the MP, outlines the stuff that Henry did to Mogill and the stuff he was doing. The four leaders had to come out and flush themselves to the top in order to try to get Mike de Jong in as a former Liberal to the Conservatives. It had Mike's best friend, Simon Gibson, say Pierre Poilievre should apologize. I never seen shit like this. I will tell you who should apologize, Simon Gibson. Ross Siemens should apologize for not restating the Dyke Committee, using rocks to help Ron Funk on Gladys and not helping the farmers, not dredging the ditches. The former mayor, Bruce Bannon, allocated money to fix the pumps and drain the ditches. Henry Brown was dismantling all them boards and all them committees to take the funds that were put out there as a safety net and drive them a certain way for him to get within the city budget so he could get use of that money. We saw in the city of Abbotsford, we saw councillors, we saw up at Henry's Brown collaborating, and we saw the neglect that these councillors had when our homes went down the mountain and what they have to these farmers. But we also saw them look away when Henry tried to end my life. I want to tell you this. When you sign up for this task, it's not an easy job. It's not a very easy job. You got to hold yourself against people trying to buy you and corruption. But I believe if you have the best, the RCMP, you'll stay on the straight and the narrow course of making sure you do a fine job. I want to outline, when I ran videos here on this building, it was to show the neglect that bylaw was doing for Henry Braun and not holding up charges or shutting them down. This is how much power the Funkstermeister was running in Abbotsford with his development. When I showed you the Vaquero Ranch coming soon, Ron Funk advertising, selling that Vaquero Ranch already without public hearings, that is how much power he had within the city councils to collaborate to get his jobs through. When I showed you the 3,000 people at Cooper's Farm that couldn't even get a hearing, And Henry said housekeeping did it. That's how much illegal, dirty corruption power that they were having, taking Abbotsford's voice around. When you saw Magna create her own consolidating company, and she was on the city's paycheck, and using them contacts to get her own. When you saw Patricia Dreesing, the councillor, the Christian woman, I'm going to be a Christian woman and call everybody out, the director of Archway, raise all that money for them flood victims, then waive the taxes from Archway Community Services, and she's the director. When you saw Alex Mitchell, the Chamber of Commerce, stand to endorse Mike DeYoung over Souk Mangel and everything else they were doing in the block, it calls for the best. It calls for the best that ever served this country, and that's the RCP. So I want to end the story by doing this, ladies and gentlemen. Abbotsford residents, under my command, will give him $1 bloody and say, no more debt, Ron. You leave, you pack your little bags, and you go scouring out. You get out of Abbotsford, or I will come in when I come Commander-in-Chief, and I will take it all. Every bloody thing, and make sure that it's at the federal level, because Henry had too many ties. You saw Pamela Alexis when she became the ag, and they were pulling all the ag out and rezoning it and everything without hearing. This mob was running wild in Abbotsford on taxpayers, families, and residents. But make no mistake, when I see the Abbotsford police this year, you can't even see them, they've got no podcast about Christmas. When they're out saying this long holiday, we're going to be doing drinking and driving, and make sure that we're doing that. I believe, in my opinion, what they're going to do is pull you over. We're going to pull you over and take your alcohol, because we need to take it to Mike DeYoung's house on Bale Road, because Mike needs to have another illegal party to endorse the next person. This is what this mob did. Mike DeYoung broke the law at the height of the coronavirus. The Abbotsford police, when the RCP said, run the video, Mr. Pelican, it should be rated, and call on the Abbotsford police, they didn't. We must bust this ring of organized crime, because I want to begin to tell you this at the end of this. I believe these officers that are targeted in the Abbotsford and say they're laying in the line of duty and got shot, they brought this upon themselves because of the dirty stuff they did through the back door. We got to make that uniform respected again. We got to make sure that each person calls each person out. We can't have what took place. We can't have our Dodge Chargers being raced. We can't have you picking up prostitutes in company vehicles. We can't have you out on Canada Day inflating your time cards. We can't have you punching people. We can't have you with the task force. We can't have you jumping on the community vehicles and inflating. We can't have you stealing $71 million. We can't have you not doing criminal and investigation reports. We can't have this. We must have fair justice for everybody, and that's what we didn't get under this shithole company, the Abbotsford Police. I'm live. Sage's Property, Ron Funk.